Okay, guys, welcome back. We're doing another review here. This is the Broadway Limited 4A4 Union Pacific, or as they call it, the FEF. Okay, they just abbreviated 4A4 FEF. Okay, so Union Pacific didn't have any imagination when it came to that, but it's fine because it's functional. Okay, this is an excursion version. Uh, the 4A this 844 ran excursions trains. Uh, I want to say late 90s, early late 90s ish. It was between that one, the Union Pacific Challenger, which I have that version coming. Cross your fingers, from Broadway Limited at the time of recording, and then this one also. So there are three different steam locomotives. As far as I know, this is still in existence, but out of service. Okay, I believe the Challenger is the same way. But like I said, this was one of the things that they used for excursion service uh, in recent history. So what we have here is just your typical mountain style locomotive. Like I said, 484, 8 drivers. Um, that tender there is a oil oil tender, because out west wood was hard to come by, of course, so, or coal. So it was easier just to use the oil for your boiler. Okay. Um, so we're gonna not do every little function that Broadway lists. You get a sheet when this would come to you, and I believe they're still available at the time of this recording. Uh, if not at your favorite hobby store or online supplier, check eBay. Okay. Um, I'm sure you'll find one floating around out there somewhere. Okay. So, Broadway, it's hard to see with this camera does some crazy things sometimes. Uh, they give you a sheet. Okay. Lists all your functions. Now, there's two sides to this sheet, which I found out. Uh, one side is all what the default settings are, and the other one is for what they call pro mode or pro lighting mode, and that gives you individual controls over different lighting functions, features, whatnot. So we're going to go through this, and as I said, I'm not going to go through every single function because I'm the kind of guy who will use what I can remember on the fly. And okay, so I don't have the greatest memory in the world, but I know that F0 is my lights. I know that F1 is my bell. I know F2 is a horn or whistle. In this case, a whistle. And then you learn, okay, so with this manufacturer, F13, I think it is, yeah, is your grade crossing. Now that kind of stuff varies between manufacturers for your decoders. This is a factory equipped decoder. Okay, so this is a factory DCC sound, DC and DCC. Uh, Obviously, if you're running it in DC, you have to have another little device that you would be able to control the individual sounds, but out of the box, it'll run either way. So what we've got here, let's start it off. Now I have the smoke unit turned off, okay, and there is a manual switch. Now I don't normally run with smoke on in this confined space because it will chuck out the smoke. Okay, it is a good smoke unit in this locomotive. Broadway's come a long way. When I first got them, their smoke units were kind of but Now that they've got, now this is the Paragon 4, okay, with the Rolling Thunder, which I have tested and works very well, okay. The Rolling Thunder, if you can find it somewhere and you like feeling like it's the real thing, get it. I've already used the Rolling Thunder at a previous residence with a small steam locomotive, but the Rolling Thunder doesn't care what the model is. It's gonna rattle your windows, and it literally did. And my wife came in and she's like, "Is there a train coming through here?" I mean, it sounded that good and made that much of a, that subwoofer really shook the house. Okay, it can. So you have to watch with that. But anyway, uh, so let's get this thing started. Like I said, I have the smoke unit turned off, so we don't have to, but it will work. Okay, and you have a function to turn it on and off if you so desire. Aside from the hard switch, okay, underneath the cab. So F7 will turn that on and off. And so let's go through this. So first thing we have to do to get everything going is do the extended startup. Now this will also work if you just move it forward or reverse, like one speed step, and it'll automatically, everything will come on. But we're going to do the extended startup. So here we go. That's F9. Now at this point, if I had the switch turned on for the smoke, I would hit F7. F7 is going to turn your smoke off and on, uh, and leave everything going. And there's your dynamo spinning up for your lights. So let's switch to a different camera, and we'll see what the lights look like. Okay, so like I said, this is in a standard default mode, which means any lights that are on or that the locomotive would use in a normal operation are going to be lit. Okay, so your headlight, your marker lights, and the number boards, which you can see there, are all lit up and looks pretty good. Okay, so let's run through some of these functions. So F1 is your bell. F2 is your whistle. Okay, so here are some of the other functions that I'm not going to go through. F3 are your coupler sounds. F4 is an air pump. F5 is a blowdown. F6 is a water fill. F7 we covered, it's the smoke on and off. F8 is your, let's go through it. F8. Okay, so I hit F8, it's quiet. Okay, so that's great. And I've ran this with F8 a lot, mostly because I'm listening to see if there's anything, anyway, problem wise. One thing I learned with, whenever you make alterations to your track, or if you just laid your track in the first place, run a steam locomotive. Not necessarily this one, almost any steam locomotive, as long as it's got like 2 or 4, or I've seen 6 leading, in your trucks in the front, the small wheels in the front, your pilot wheels. Uh, as long as it's that kind of a configuration, it's going to find problems in your track. Okay, a diesel is a lot more forgiving, whether it's a 4-axle or 6-axle truck, or excuse me, a 2-axle or 3-axle. I'm thinking of the wheels. A 2-axle or 3-axle truck, aside from a tight corner, diesels are going to run on almost anything. Okay, regardless. But a steam locomotive will find problems. Okay, so That's why I run it like this a lot, because I'm looking for those issues and it will pick them out. Trust me. So anyway, uh, so that's that. Let's look at the back. Okay, and this is one of my issues that I have with this particular locomotive. Okay, so I have marker jewels on the back. Now, when I bought this, okay, Broadway Limited had just re-released, I guess, their big boy in Paragon 4, which I have, and that lights up like a Christmas tree. What your front markers, front number boards, the lights, rear marker lights, rear, your backup light. I mean, it looks fantastic running, but they skimped for whatever reason, because and when you jump over and you look at the Southern Pacific's what's their version of an FEF, which they call the GS4. Okay, at least they gave it something other than FEF. Um, Same wheel configuration, by the way. Weird, but anyway, uh, when they did this one, they skipped over doing the rear marker lights, which I thought was kind of weird. Okay, and I don't understand it. I guess they're just giving me something to bitch about. Okay, I'm sorry. That's the way it goes. But anyway, so there's your rear light. Okay, so this is all you get. Um, Not fantastic. Like I said, I think they could have went the extra mile and they could have lit those marker lights, but they didn't. And this is one of those uh, brass hybrids. Okay, so that means that the boiler and I want to say the body of the body of the tender is brass. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what's brass, or maybe it's the chassis. It's one of the two. Um, that's brass, and then there's also uh, plastic added to it. Okay, for detailing and whatnot. But uh, like I said, that's the main issue that I have is there's no rear marker lights, which I thought was, like I said, kind of odd. So we'll switch back out here to the front now, and we'll flip it to forward. Okay, so that is the back. So let's look at the rest of it here. Okay, so where did we leave off? Okay, so F7 we talked about that your smoke on and off, which we don't need right now because we have the smoke manually turned off, physically turned off, I should say. F8, which we are doing right now, is the master volume. F9 we did the startup sequence. Now there's some functions here. You have your F10's an oil injector, F11's a water injector, F12 is your brake set. Now, let me turn this on here. So F13 is going to be your grade crossing signal. Okay, so that's a variable. I mean, and they're not all the same, even between steam locomotives. As far as okay, you have to figure out you got a crossing coming up. If you want to use F13, you have to figure in advance where you're going to hit this thing because they're not all the same. Okay, they vary between Broadway limited locomotives, diesel, steam. I mean the whole 9 yards. But anyway, there's a bunch of functions here, like from F14 through 19. They are what I consider to be useless. Okay, I'll tell you what they are. They are station sounds, yard radio chatter, maintenance radio, radio check chatter, crew chatter, well, two different crew chatters. The reason I say they're useless is they say one thing and one thing only. Okay. Um, Now I have this, like I said, this is a factory installed DCC. So this is Broadway Limited's version of DCC. I have, and I guess now I kind of get why some people want to switch these out with other manufacturers' DCC decoders. Uh, I have, and I'm probably going to review it sometime, a DCC decoder from uh, Soundtracks, I believe it is. Um, it's not their top of the line, it's an economy, okay? And it has crew chatter on it. Oh, wait, no, I take that back. It is Soundtracks Tsunami 2, okay? It has the crew chatter, but it's also got multiple things that it talks. I mean, when you hear it, it's going, it'll say one phrase, it'll say another. No, it only has, I don't know, 8 or 9 things that it's, different phrases, and it will come out at various times if you leave the function on, but it's different, okay? This says one thing and one thing only. And I think that's kind of boring, okay? And you hear the same thing over and over again. Um, yeah, to me, that's not right. Okay, so there's another function here, and we're going to switch to the rear camera here. Okay, so according to this, now I haven't used this yet because I'm just looking at this today. One of those things that I don't see a useful function for most of the time, especially if you're running, okay? They have F20 is a rear emergency light, and you can turn it on and off. So that comes on. Could you use that in place of rear marker lights? I don't know. We'll turn that off. I still think it's cheap. Okay, not gonna lie. I think it if I remember right, it's just not that's not something I like. Okay. So anyway, we go back to F21 lumber mill sounds, which we talked about. Okay, not a fan. So then we got what's the next one here? F22 is a whistle toggle. Okay, so I'm going to turn that on, and let's hear what the other whistle is. Again, not a fan. It just doesn't do it for me. So F23, we did that. Okay, so 24 is nothing. F25 is going to be a long whistle. And then they do 26 and 27 is a macro playback and a macro record. Let's just say you're getting bored with this. So you want to say, okay, we're doing excursion passenger train. And so you want to record a station announcement or something. How long you got, I have no idea. I've never played with that part because I have no use for it. Okay? Not gonna lie. And the other function here is F20, which is the brake squeal. So, like I said, the majority of the functions, now some people may use it, some people may like it. Personally, I don't care. Okay? It's how it is. I don't use them. I like running trains. And I just like how this operates. Okay? It runs smooth. It hauls pretty good. Now, I will say they do put on a factory traction tires. One driver from each side has a factory installed traction tire. So yes, they cheat. but I think everybody does that on a steamer, um, just to help it a little bit. Um, but it will haul quite a bit. Like I said, especially with those traction tires, it would it hauls. I have a 11 no 12 car, I should say, 12 car passenger set. Plus, I have two those auxiliary water tanks. Okay, and it will pull the entire train and not even breathe hard. Okay, so is it a great hauler? Yes. They've done a great job with the mechanism. Um, like I said, my only real complaint in out of the whole thing is the lack of rear marker lights. When obviously, they know how to do it and they could do it, they just chose not to. So for whatever reason, oops. Hey, here you go. Looking at me. Okay, so we'll flip back to that. Um, so my overall view of this, and I don't know why I just lost myself here. Hey, live TV, what do you expect? Anyway, um, so my overall view of this is a great locomotive. If it's still available for you, I would get it regardless of whether you're out there hauling freight or you want to do your own excursion. Uh, it's a great locomotive overall, and you should use it. Uh, so that's about all I really have to say. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, share, subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions about this, feel free to leave them down in the comments. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.